Good day, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. So today's video is going to serve two purposes. One, I have failed to give a good quality update of what's going on around the homestead here since I've kind of come back to recording again. And two, I just want to enjoy this beautiful day and share an exciting story that I haven't had a chance to share since I wasn't filming at the time. Now, since we're up here at the house, I'm going to start with a couple of the disappointing things, because that's where, well, some of the disappointing things have happened. Though, one of the things I worked on a whole lot in the spring was getting this pool up and running and fixing the issues. But, as you can see, it didn't last. It's a sad sight. So it turns out the liner, which is older, it got some holes in the bottom of it somewhere, and we never could find it. And long story short, the repairs were just not worth the money. So that is the end of the pool saga, and it lasted barely a year. So it is what it is. We're gonna come up with a new plan for this area, and I'll share that with you guys at some other point. Now, there were a lot of things that kind of got neglected over the last couple of months, just because, you know, 3 young kids trying to keep up with everything, and I let some stuff go. Along with the filming, well, my yard hadn't always been taken care of, and the grass had gotten tall. And part of that is because my mower doesn't cut well, because the blades on it are terrible, and I need to replace them. But really and truly, out here where I live, that's really not that big a deal. The more disappointing thing, well, that would be our garden. And this is the garden. Yeah, it's just grass and weeds. Although it wasn't a total lost cause. We got a lot of snap peas out of it, a lot of tomatoes out of it, and I learned a lot of things. One being that my ground wasn't well prepared, which I kind of knew going in. That was something that I'd already kind of pointed out was going to be an issue, and it turned out to be true. But we're going to prep it better this fall. We're going to actually mow all this down, till it in, and then cover it for the winter. If you look really closely over there, you can see an okra plant still sticking up. So there's a few things still growing in here, besides the weeds and grass. Our marigolds also did fantastically, even if late. And got a garden spider in here. Alright, so we're gonna go over and see the chickens next. But the story that I'm going to tell you actually has to do with chickens. So we never got to the conclusion of our Cornish crosses. On my last video, I talked about how we did eventually butcher them. And for those that don't know, butchering the chickens was kind of the first major milestone for us. And the reason for that is we'd never butchered an animal before. It was the first animal that we butchered on farm for our own consumption. And so it's just kind of an exciting moment. We start to finish the whole process. The story with the chickens actually for me goes back many, many years. And actually that's one of the biggest reasons why we actually started the farm. Now, for the better part of 25 years, I actually haven't been able to eat chicken. As a kid, I used to be able to eat it. And then as I got older, I started getting allergic reactions to it and just getting sick, and well, I couldn't eat it anymore. What's up, ladies? How we doing? There's our young rooster that ain't so young anymore. He's getting big. And our guys are molting. Well, the older ones. Mr. T is still out as ever. Where you at, bud? We got some work to do out here. There he is. Mr. T is molting quite a bit and doesn't have tail feathers at the moment. He looks kind of funny to me. We also got to do a little work on a chickshaw. It needs a new door, and I need to repaint it. But otherwise, it's been doing really well. As fall gets closer, we'll actually start gearing up to put them back in their permanent run for the winter. Just makes it a lot easier to manage them. And their coops are, not quite this open, which allows us to keep them warm. So we actually now have right about 40 chickens. I don't remember the exact number, so we lost a few during, as they were growing. But we have about 40 now. Back to the chicken story. I think a lot of the reason that people decide to homestead or grow any kind of food themselves is either A, they think it's going to be cheaper, which I've already found that a lot of times that's not necessarily the case. If you're okay with cheap garbage food, then frankly you're going to be able to afford that cheaper than growing a lot of it yourself. Now there are exceptions, and as you get more efficient and you can kind of replicate what you're doing, it becomes cheaper. But if you're starting from scratch, it's not cheaper. You're going to spend more money getting the materials and, you know, all the time spent and, well, frankly, the space to do it. That said, that's exactly how we got into it. I felt this desire, this push, if you will, to start growing my own food. You know, without getting into the politics of it, there are just a lot of concerns that I have with, you know, where are the foods coming from, how it's being produced, the abundance or lack thereof of food. And like a lot of people with COVID, when things happen and you can't get to it, it doesn't matter how much money you make. If you can't buy it, if it ain't on the shelf. And so that was a big push for us. But there's actually one story in particular that I want to share that really drove me personally to want to grow my own food. Now, as I stated before, for 25 years I haven't been able to eat chicken. But I actually heard a story, and this guy, I can't remember exactly who it was, and I can't find the video again, but it was an interview, and he was talking to, I believe, an employee of one of the large chicken factories who was saying that he gets all of his chickens from the farm directly as opposed to from the factory. And his reasoning was that he couldn't eat the chicken that came out of the factory. And he started explaining, you know, his story and all the symptoms and things that he would have when eating chicken. And it was the first time in my life in over 25, I'm gonna say at the time probably about 24 years, or maybe even 23 years, I don't know, it was a couple years ago. But it was the first time in my life I'd ever heard anybody explaining that the symptoms they were experiencing were identical to mine. These mosquitoes are awful right now. When I heard his story, that kind of shook me a little bit, and that was one of the things that really made me start questioning the food system. So to summarize his story, the symptoms that he would get were sick to his stomach. When he ate the chicken, it would make him throw up. It was exactly the thing that I've experienced for a long time. And so for most of my life, I just cut it out of my diet, and I would try it again every once in a while because I thought, well, if it's an allergy I develop, maybe it'll be an allergy I outgrow, but that never happened. He had stated that in his experience, the issue with the food was the chicken, when it goes through the processing, it goes through all these chill tanks and this mechanical separation process where they actually, you know, well, butcher the chicken on an assembly line essentially. And that process caused the meat to, I'll just say, obtain some qualities that cause him to get sick. His theory was that the chemicals and things in the bath that they soak in is actually what was making him sick. And so I thought, well, that's intriguing. And I thought, well, the easiest way to test this theory is to just grow some chicken myself, which we did. About, I don't know, a month and a half ago or so, we butchered our first chickens. And I was nervous to try it, but I did. Hey, pigs. How we doing, guys? How we doing? Hey, Henry. What are you doing, guys? Enjoying some shade? Yep, looks like you're enjoying some shade. What's up, Lucille? What's up, girl? Were you napping? What's up, Henry? What's up, big boy? He's such a sweet guy. Yes, he's a good boy. So right now I got him in with all the ones we were calling the little pigs. They are hanging out in the woods. I expect them to spend at least a few more weeks out here in the woods before we start trying to do some prep for winter. They like the walnuts. We have a walnut tree right here, and they love eating the walnuts. Anyway, so that first night we cooked the whole chicken, sat down for dinner, and I ate a very small amount of it because I was very nervous because it usually makes me sick. But I'm happy to share that it did not make me sick. But I was still nervous. Thought, well, maybe I just didn't eat that much and it, you know, not really a thing. So I ate it again the next night, except I ate a whole helping. And again, I'm happy to say that I did not get sick. And so this is this is kind of a big deal for me. So for 25 plus years, I've been unable to eat chicken, and I have to check hot dogs and pepperonis and you name it. If you haven't looked at the ingredients on your food, you should, because the number of things that are either bioengineered ingredients or things that you would think are one way but include chicken as a byproduct is unreal. And it, without fail, if I eat one of those things, I will end up getting sick. It still happens to this day. So the main reason I wanted to share this is because I can't be the only person that has experienced this. You know, like I said, about 5 or 6 years old, I stopped being able to eat chicken. And my whole life never really knew why. I assumed it had to do with antibiotics or steroids, or maybe, you know, I had read a lot that suggested maybe there was a particular protein that I was allergic to. But it turns out it might just be the way that the chicken was raised and how it was processed. And, you know, I don't know the specific reason. I don't know if it is because of the antibiotics and steroids, or if it is because of the way it's processed. But we did it, you know, on pasture, natural, you know, manual process. You know, we kept everything clean and, you know, just did it. And I've had several of them at this point, probably 6 or 7 of them we've cooked, and I've partaked in every one of those meals, and it's exciting. And so I really felt the need to share this story so that maybe some other people who have been dealing with this for a long time might have an opportunity to understand what was going on. So, like I said, I struggled for a long time to ever find anybody, and that one person is the only person still to this day that I have found that has shared the same symptoms. So maybe it's extremely rare, or more likely, I think it's relatively common, and people just aren't aware. They don't know what it is. So, you know, if that helps you, that's awesome. And if it does, I'd be really curious. I'm genuinely curious to know if there are other people that end up watching that have had similar symptoms. And it might not be chicken for you. It might be some other things. But, you know, I'm very curious to know, like, who else has gone through the same thing. Because a lot of people have gone through food-related reasons for wanting to make a change. And, well, for me, that was the one. That was kind of the kicking off point for me, was hearing that story and going, huh, let's see. Hey there, Molly. Hello, babies. How we doing? Let me come see you. Yeah, you still get a little nervous with the babies around, don't you? Where's everybody at? I only see 2. Can I come visit without you getting upset? We'll go around this way, give you some space. If you've been around for a little bit, you'll recognize that we are down at the barn. Molly's keeping her eye on me here. What's up, baby? You gonna come visit? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe, maybe not. Nope. Oh, I spooked him when I stood up. So anyways, this was the original area that Molly and Henry came into when they first got here. And after a couple of weeks, we ended up closing this off, and it's been, well, pretty much under quarantine, if you will. We're resting this part of the land, and we will open this back up over the winter and let them graze that back down. Hey, pigs. Hey, baby pigs. Yeah. They're not much a fan of me right now. So we have this little area here opened up, and, well, they've got all this room out here to explore. So it looks like some of them, I figured out they can go under the fence because they're not very big yet. What are you guys doing over here? Oh, there they are. They are hiding in the grass there. What are you guys doing? I actually didn't realize they were getting out. Oh, spooked them. They're going to go run back over there now, I think. I'm going to come back over here and give them some space. A couple of weeks ago, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we castrated 5 out of the 7. And since then, they are not all that eager to be around me, except the runt, because the runt and one other are the only 2 we didn't do. Partially because the runt just really wasn't doing all that well at the time, and he's coming along a little better now. And the other one is, well, if you've ever dealt with male pigs, you'll know that some of them they drop and some of them they don't for some time. So he didn't, and so he'll have his day another day. Now, I've pretty much covered everything I wanted to cover with you guys. I really wanted to just tell you the story, share some excitement. Try to contain it, but if you ask anybody in my family, I've almost gotten giddy over the fact that we can sit down and have a meal and I can eat chicken. And for my family even, that's kind of a big deal. So we share in the excitement, and I really wanted to share that with you guys in hopes that it would help somebody else. The other thing I wanted to do is kind of give you guys an update and let you see the expansion that we've had and some of the failures we've had with the garden. We've done really well with the pigs. We've done pretty well with the chickens. The garden, not so much. We've had some other stuff like the pool, and just life. I mean, with kids, you've got a lot going on, and we're sort of in between things, right? With where we're at with doing things here on the homestead, and going out and doing things, I guess you'd call it traditionally. We're not trying to become secluded. We're just trying to find the right balance for us, and well, we're still learning. So I appreciate the patience. Thanks for coming back and joining and watching despite the absence for a while, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a good day.